Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show where we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on the Commander format. And today we are bringing you a fresh new top 10. We are discussing the top 10 new commanders in the Dominaria United Main Set. So we're not featuring any commanders from the command decks or any cards from the Special Legends Retold set. And in this list we're going to be ranking the cards not only on power but also on how unique and flavorful they are. So without further ado, let's jump right in. We're starting with Braids, Arisen Nightmare. Now, as I mentioned when I first saw this card spoiled, this is really sweet. They've managed to correct the issues with the old Braids that made her banned in Commander. She is going to be quite fun and quite interesting to build around because you can try to include some enchantments and artifacts to get removal for stuff that Black doesn't normally get. Black doesn't usually get removal for enchantments or artifacts. The fact that your opponent has the choice ultimately still means that you might not get to remove what you want each time, but you are going to be drawing cards and they're going to lose life if that's the case. This also makes the commander a lot more skill testing than the old one. The old one was just when you drop her early on, you just win the game. In this one, the opponents still get to make strategic choices, and if they make the wrong one and let you draw cards, that might actually be good for you. If they let you draw 2 or 3 cards off of this each turn cycle, then they're going to be in trouble pretty quick. Overall, this is pretty interesting design, and I think it will lead to some cool games of Commander. Next up, we have number 9, which is Zur Eternal Schemer. Now, this one is on the list mostly because of how cool it is and how unique it is. This is a completely new commander that we've never seen before. It deals with enchantment creatures. The keyword ability soup it gives them is already great, but you can also activate your enchantments to give them hexproof for instant speed, which is really sweet. For example, if somebody tries to remove your Necropotence, you just pay 2, and then suddenly it has hexproof and whatever it was targeting it fizzled. Obviously, people are only going to make this mistake once, but just the threat of activation might be enough to keep your enchantments nice and protected, or at the very least, if they have multiple removal spells, it will make your opponents waste more than one of them on each of your things. That is really good. As well as that, this also gives you a really nice way to play all those Theros block enchantment creatures that maybe weren't that good back in the day, but suddenly in this deck with 3 new keywords might be good enough. Next up, we have number 8, Ivy, Gleeful Spell Thief. Now, I haven't seen this one on a lot of people's radar, and I think this is a super fun build around. It's gonna make for a really interesting and cool build around deck. You can run a lot of cantrips, you can run a lot of enchantments that then stay in play that also cantrip. Imagine getting a double Rancor on this. Obviously, you're not getting the copy when it dies, but still, getting 2 of them in the first place is pretty nice. But then the other aspect of it is your opponents can't really play any card that buffs their creatures while Ivy is in play. And let's not forget that Ivy is only 2 mana, so that means it's very easy to leave mana up to protect her. It's very easy to cast her again even if she does die. I just think she seems very strong and also a really fun and unique build around. I can't wait to make a deck around her. I'm probably going to make one this week. Stay tuned for that deck. Next up is Shieldred, the Apocalypse. Well, not much to say here. I mean, this one is here on power level and also on uniqueness, to be honest. This is going to be a really interesting commander that is going to spawn some mono-black group hug decks, if you can believe such a thing. You're just going to run a bunch of Howling Mine effects and a couple of wheels that there are in black, and you're just going to try to combo off opponents. She's relatively cheap, and in black you can make a lot of mana, so she can come down a couple of times even if she gets killed. And this is going to make a lot of people groan, I feel. Like, people don't like to get locked out of the game, and they might well be. If they're low enough, they can't really draw answers to this, since drawing more cards puts you closer to dying. Probably not going to be the most fun to play against, but it's certainly one of the best commanders in the set. Next up we have Joyra, Ageless Innovator. This is another one that I'm really excited to brew around. I mean, we've seen lots of artifact commanders in this, so it's not that unique in that sense, but boy is this going to be strong and fun. As I mentioned in my preview video, Umbral Mantle is going to be great here. There's also Thornbite Staffed and Freed from the Real. Those are both really good cards in their own right that can also just fit perfectly into this stack. And just being able to double up on Joyra's effects is going to be really nice. Throne of Geth is going to help you put more counters on her. You can also go a little bit of a proliferate route, since there are a few proliferates that are also artifacts. Contagion, Clasp, and Contagion Engine seem to be pretty good here. You also have Inexorable Tide and Flux Channeler, which are both really nice because you're probably going to be playing a lot of non-creature spells, and you're just going to be dumping some really big things from your hand. You do need to be refilling your hand, so you're going to have to find a few ways to draw cards, but again, there's a lot of different ways to do that in blue and red. So I just think this is going to be Very, very strong. It's going to let you cheat on mana very easily. Love Joyra. Number 5, we have Goreblood Fist of Cow. Look forward to a deck coming of this very, very soon. This is one of my picks for the strongest commanders in the set in terms of power level. People are definitely sleeping on this. Drawing a card for each attacking creature that dies is just absolutely bonkers, and you can deal damage before sacrificing them because you can wait till the end of combat step to sacrifice them, and they still count as attacking creatures. So yeah, you have a lot of control over this effect. If you play a lot of sack outlets, you can do it whenever it's more convenient to you. If your opponents are really low and you think you can put some of them out, then sack them before damage or just wait till the second main step. If you want more cards, which is what is probably going to happen most of the time, then you can just sack them at some point during combat and just refill your hand. It's just super, super strong. It's great against board wipes again, because your opponents are going to feel very awkward about wiping the board when you have this out. They're going to take a bunch of damage. Just a very strong aristocrat style commander in Rakdos. Next up we have Soul of Windgrace. It's probably going to be one of the best lands-based commanders because it gives you access to 3 colors in Jund, which the original Windgrace already did, but this one feels a lot better in a way. So it's going to bring a land back from a graveyard on enter the battlefield or attack. But the thing is, it can bring your opponent's lands back too. So if you don't have anything that good, or if you just want to mess with your opponent, you can take their stuff. It just has everything you want. It's a bit of a Swiss Army knife that can do all of the things you really care about. It can keep you alive, it can draw you cards, and it can keep itself alive. Obviously something like the Gitrog monster would be really good in this deck. There's a few different avenues you can go. I would of course put Life from the Loam in there because I just love end deck with Life from the Loam in it. It is my favorite card in the universe. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to building with this commander as well. And number 3, we have Maria, Scholar of Antiquity. Now this one is on the list because of how unique she is. This is an Artifacts Matter commander in Gruul. Have we ever seen such a thing? This is crazy. This should totally be in Izzet colors, but it's not. It's in Gruul. It's green for some reason. It doesn't work with treasure tokens, which is a good thing because everything works with treasure tokens these days. Even without using tokens, the effect is really strong though, and it is a bit of a Staxy effect, so look forward to some groans when you're playing against this. It is best friends with stuff like Winter Orb and Tangle Wire and stuff like that, so yeah, I think it's going to be difficult to build this in a way that doesn't end up being a little bit Staxy, but even so, it gets massive points just for how unique it is and how it's strong it's probably going to end up being too. So I look forward to seeing your builds around this commander. Number 2 is Ratadrabik of Urborg. This one is super sweet. It has so much text and it has ward too, which is going to make it difficult to interact with. And the fact that it can make token copies of legendary creatures when they die is just super good. Because the tokens are no longer legendary, if you somehow reanimate the creature from your graveyard, since it doesn't exile it, you can have it die again and get another token copy. So you could just keep going with this and get multiple tokens if you have ways to reanimate your creatures. And this just opens up the possibility to so many different combinations and combos. There's definitely a few ways that this can help you win on the spot or almost. So this is one of the most Johnny cards in the set. It's one of the most unique cards in the set, and I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun trying to break this and build around it. And finally, in our number 1 spot, this is probably one that a lot of people didn't expect to see this high up. It's Lagomos, Hand of Hatred. This is awesome. It's a demonic tutor on a stick that's repeatable. Absolutely amazing. You get a 3/1 elemental at the beginning of each combat, and he's a 1/3, which I like. It's kind of mirrored. So that's already a lot of value. But then, if you have 5 creatures die, you can tap this guy to search for anything in your library. So that's a bit of a hefty requirement, but there's a lot of very easy ways to get around that. It doesn't have to be your own creatures either. You're going to run a lot of Fleshbag Marauder effects, so 3 mana creatures that come in and make everybody sacrifice a creature. If you do that in a full table, that's already 4 creatures. You just need 1 more. In the meantime, with this, you can use something like Thornbite Staff to get 5 draws. You simply sacrifice a creature, put the untapped trigger on a stack, sacrifice a creature, put the untapped trigger on a stack, etc. When the 5th creature has died, you tutor a card, the untapped trigger resolves, you tutor a card, the untapped trigger resolves, etc. That's ridiculous because you're drawing 5 cards at that point. Umbral Mantle is also really good. Again, in this deck you can pay mana to untap and draw more cards. The other thing you can do is protect it from board wipes with indestructible effects. Dark Steel Plate comes to mind. There's also a couple of black instants that give indestructible. So this is just another excellent build around. There's so many things you can do here. People love tutoring. This is going to let you tutor the best card in your deck almost every turn if your deck is built right. This should end the game in short order. So absolutely love this card. I think it's incredibly strong, and that is why it is my top commander from Dominaria United. What are your favorite commanders from the set? Please let me know in the comments below if I got this wrong, and if there's any commanders that you love that weren't featured on this list. I read all the comments and respond to all of them. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like and or subscribe. I'm growing the channel and it really helps a lot. And until next time, take care.